I
there is a line, and I think there's a line for you. There's a line for me that you think there is the wall,
mhm.
though that your mind says in a scientific manner, I want to go beyond because I'm inquisitive, but your body says, get the hell out of there. Do not go beyond this line. That's happened for me. It happened for me in the US where this was a mortuary, and it was the most awful tree I'd ever seen. Like something straight out of the Poltergeist film, that horrible twisty tree, and it's just something about that damn tree. But and I could feel this something about this bloody tree, but there was something going on there. And of course,
Yep.
through we're going back there, and this thing reveals itself in voices. But the voices are describe I can describe them as very deep, extremely loud, powerful, bellowing out from where the tree is, and it's saying things like, kneel before us. Um, we want you to come with us. You can levitate.
Mm.
All those sort of things like that. And the temperature was fine. It was a normal, this was in March. I think it was a March night. It wasn't
Mhm.
relatively cold, but boy, I felt it plummet, and I mean plummet the temperature to I could see my breath like
Mhm.
a frosty, freezing morning. You could see it. And that I'd never experienced before. I've been in cold areas, cold spots and stuff like that. It's just like a vacuum of space where there's everything's taken out, leaving nothing but coldness. Because
Mhm.
it's like a vacuum of space. It's absolutely freezing. But it's I never experienced that like that. And yeah, that was beyond my acceptance. So
Well,
so I went sat
people,
back in the car. But whilst
I
I'm sat in
don't,
the car and this is going on, there's a place in the area of in the car where you put pits in, and there were bits of things in there like pens and stuff, and they were moving around on their own. Whilst I'm sat in the car, it's going moving around whilst this is going on outside the car. But I had a feeling came over me of sheer dread. Absolutely. And I've only had this
right.
twice. This is one of them. Absolute sheer dread. And my mind wanted to sort of be part of this, but I found myself, and I didn't even know I was doing it. I'm taking a step back. There's something in me,
Yeah,
without
yeah.
me knowing, I'm taking steps back. I didn't even process the thought I'm moving back, but I am. And
Mhm.
something took over me. I don't know what it was, but it was saying, my brain wants to go that day, but you're going this way. And I did retreat. I admit there is a limit, but that sheer dread really it soaks you. Your body feels like a sponge, and it soaks you up. And it's a horrible, horrible, empty coldness, dread, fear, emotion. It's and that was enough to say, yep, that's it. That's my point of no return there, sort of thing. Mm.
Yeah, it's that whatever that feeling is, and I've had it, that was kind of like my introduction to the phenomenon because when I would go to bed at night as a kid, that would walk into my room and it was accompanied by a stench and it reeked in my room and I didn't know what it was. There was nothing in it when I first walked in. It was the open house, but something stinks in here. It was just very, very off-putting. But this gets back, especially to your mention of the mortuary. In the case studies throughout history, we see the phenomenon masquerading as deceased loved ones, as ghosts.
Mm.
I'm wondering if those ghosts are actually entities that are feeding off of the consciousness left behind by people, masquerading as I am that man or I am that woman. I
Mm.
died here. and it's
Yeah.
not them at all. It's something else entirely that may have even caused some of these events. Just, and this gets back into, the deception of gods and men, and you're in Barry's work, right? Calls certain events upon which there is a mass feeding frenzy. But I felt that cold, dark presence before. And
Yeah.
in some of the darkest research I've done, the only thing I've come close to it in terms of understanding it would be that of interviewing a serial killer, where you realize that's a completely different species in there. It's
Yeah.
something cold, calculated, and I want nothing to do with it.
No, no, there is that though. And what I'm saying is though, I mean, it's real. It's there. It's something,
Yeah.
it's something beyond your normal, but super normal in a sense of speaking, but rare. But don't tangle with this. Even your own body mechanism, there's something guttural survival sense type thing that kicks in, and just you're backing away, you're moving away, your body's already taken over. It's usually your mind's doing that. It's usually your mind saying, I
Mhm.
want to know more, but your body's going, yeah, and that's something switches. And it's like, yeah, I'm going backwards and I don't know why. It's just this fear, this dread, and it is a horrible, horrible feeling. The second time I experienced that was it was an investigation at a farmhouse in Wales in probably about 90 97 or 98. I think it was 90, beginning of 98, February 98, I think something like that was. And but what was interesting is that the family witnessed, she said, a daughter's seen aliens. A daughter, this was prior to them moving into the farmhouse. They used to say, because this only came up in an interview, that, oh, well, when the other house we lived in, my daughter said she saw aliens. And I said, what? She had a close encounter type experience. She saw something in the sky. Oh, no, she never seen a UFO. She said she's seen them in the house.
Hmm.
I thought, oh, okay, not a UFO stimulus, but you're seeing something that your daughter recognizes as an alien. And she said, oh, yeah, they're like the little grey things. And I said, oh, I know what you mean. Yeah. And she was saying, listen, how old was she? She was 14 at the time. Well, of course, years pass by. The daughter leaves home, gets married, whatever. They decide to buy this farmhouse, the family. Um, but he had a young child as well, a boy, and they decided to do this room up in the. Well, it was pretty. There was a lot of work that needed to be done in this farmhouse. To be fair, I saw the photographs, and I thought, blimey, no, but they must have got it at a good price, because there's a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
But her mother was coming in there and helping out. Her husband was just working every hour they could send to get money, sort of a thing. But they knew the potential in this. These old farmhouses, when you do them up, they can be pretty expensive. But once you've done them up, they're amazing what you can do with them. And she saw that value in the building, so they bought this, and we're doing it up. And her mother was coming round to help, and they kept reporting things happening, but very bad smells. So I got involved in the case and I went down there. I went down there several times, actually, 3 interviews or so, and other times I went a couple of occasions on my own, actually. And they were having these experiences of you run-of-the-mill paranormal type stuff, things moving around, doors opening. They'd come home to
Mhm.
find the doors open. In fact, on one occasion, all the doors were open. I mean, every door and window in the building was open, which is really weird because even the upstairs window, the downstairs windows, every door was open. It was just like, what the hell? They hadn't been burgled. Nobody had been in there, and no sign of breaking in. It's like every door was unlocked, opened, and windows all open. There was just no explanation for it. Um, it happened a few occasions that they come home and seen this, but it was always at a time when nobody was on. It never happened when they were in the house. It was like we'd have come home and it's happened again. So there was also obviously quite a problem regarding security, you see. So they decided to put these new locks on, Get locks on all the doors and windows and this, that, and the other. Nothing's going to do. It made no difference whatsoever. In fact, the actual lock that stops the window from opening with a
Mhm.
key, they lock it, got the key. That window was open, but the lock was still in the lock position. There's no way that window can
How do
open
you do that?
with the
Right.
lock in its position. The lock has to come this way for the window to shut and lock again. It locked up, is it? You're just like, what the hell is going on here? But then they had these bad smells. Now that the bad smells were rotten eggs,
Mhm.
bad
Sulfur,
smell,
that kind of
sulfur
thing.
type stuff, yeah. But there was occasionally the report of because she said, I think it used to be they used to have pigs here. And I
Mhm.
said, well, right, yeah, well, it's a farmhouse, so likely is, yeah. She said, but we're hearing pigs. I said, well, where are you hearing pigs from? She said, it's
Mhm.
one wall. It's the staircase wall. We only hear it there. We hear it like these snorting pig sounds coming from the wall. And I thought, oh, that doesn't sound good because I've heard
Mhm.
about the sound of swine, you know, in
Mhm.
association with things that not too good, plus
Not at
accompanied
all.
by the bad smell, of course. So they finished the little lad's room, her and her mum, and they'd gone down for a cup of tea. They'd done some stuff, tidying it all up and everything. They heard this massive ruckus, loads of banging going on and everything upstairs. Very short lived, but lot. And so they come flying up the stairs, open the door. It's absolutely wrecked. The bedroom's wrecked. The wardrobe's over. Everything's out all over the place. And they immediately think we've got a poltergeist.
Mhm.
But it was much more than that. It really was. Now, the thing is that much as really is her husband, he's got his own room. He's den, you know, his man
Mhm.
cave. And in there, he had a full-size pool table, you see. Now, there's only one door into this room. There's no windows. It's an interior room in the house. And it's next to the landing. And you go in there, there's one door you open, and it's not bad size, and it's got lights and stuff, and cabinets on the wall, but there's this pool table and a darts board as well. And what happened was is that they heard this noise. They go up. They can't get in there because something had moved the pool table up to the door. But there's no entrance or exit but that door.
Right.
So her husband's giving it all this and trying to push and push and push. Yeah, and he had to get like a bit of help. But slowly but surely, after a while, he managed to squeeze in. It's the pool table. It literally dragged itself across the floor up against the door. But there's no exits there or entrance there but that door. So how the hell?
Right.
And he said, it was like a demonstration to say, you've got to know that something's here.
Mhm.
So things started escalating to the point where they started seeing things, and they did not like it, and they didn't even want to talk too much about what they'd seen. I think they got this feeling that if they talk about it, it gets worse or it's going to follow them.
Right.
And they decided to just try and get out of the house for a bit, and I was still involved in the case, so I ended up going down. And my second to last visit, I was there on my own. I was staying locally, so it was about 7 o'clock at night. It wasn't dead dark. It wasn't really, really dark, but it was heading there. And I was walking around the house, and it was seemed fine that night. There was no sounds, having no smells, no bumps and things. And I thought, oh, okay. And as I walk past down, I come down the stairs and I'm walking
Mhm.
through the hall. The hall looks through to another a room, and then through that room is the kitchen. And they're lined up so you can see into the kitchen. Kitchen's quite a bit, it's not bad size, it's about 10 foot, but it's a galley kitchen as well. And I'd walked past this several times, backwards and forwards, whilst I was there looking, as you do, and nothing out of the norm. Um, until I kind of started thinking, okay, well, you know what, nothing to report. I'm going to be heading back. I'll just do, a little look around, make sure everything's okay. And as I'm walking past this door, something catches my eye. And I look through the smaller room into the kitchen which is doors open, and I see this mass, and this mass is must be about it's about 3 foot off the floor. 3 foot, but it's about 3 foot. It's on the floor, but it's about 3 foot. But it's bulky. It's like just a black bulky mass, and it stands out like a sore thumb because it's pure black. And I'm looking, and I stop, and I'm looking, and I'm thinking, what the hell is that? Because they've not got no pets. And it's not a dog. It's too bulky.
Mhm.
I mean, what is that? And I'm paused. I'm stuck in this time warp thing. I'm
Yeah.
paused, and I am just like a sheepdog looking at sheep. I'm looking
Mhm.
at this, and this thing is just sat there. And then it's going through my mind, did something fall off? Is something, what is that like? It's not moving, and and then just as a point in me to sort of say, oh, God, I need to find out what this is and get my camera and this, that, and the other. And I'm just thinking, this is the process going through my mind. I'm going to do the suddenly, and it came from the back. There's this feeling, it seemed to come through from my back and came down my arms, my neck, and everything went, woof, all the hairs.
Mhm.
I was like, oh, sort of a thing. And as that happened, this thing, which I thought was just one solid mass not moving or anything, decided to stand up.
Oh no.
This thing was as tall as the sea up to the ceiling of the kitchen. And that ceiling is about this far above my head, about a foot and a half above my head. And this thing is that level. And it was cowled and it was black. And I swear to God, I ran. I really did, because it was that same feeling that I had overseas, that
Mhm.
same horrible, horrible feeling. But this thing, which it didn't look like it was knelt down, though. I could kind of make out if something's knelt down, but it's as if it became that to that. I don't know. But this thing stood up and I got out the hell out of there. But what was interesting is that in the car, I just slammed the door because it's one of those you can look, you can double lock it, but I didn't have the double lock, but it locks behind and you close it. I slammed that door, got in the car, and I'm gone. And I'm going down the road. It still didn't, it felt it was still with me. It was
Mhm.
still there with me, as if like it was round me in the car. It was like I felt trapped. I felt like I can't get out. What can I do? Get out, get away, get away, get away. You're in my area. You're in my space. You're in my car. Go, go, go. Eventually, about a mile and a half later, it's just like disappear, dissipates. But it stuck with me like glue for about
Mhm.
a mile and a half. And it was an awful feeling because it was the same feeling. I'm thinking I'm getting that feeling because I've just seen this in the house. But no, it's like a feeling that's going to grab hold of you and it's like a skin. It sits around you, you
Yes.
know. Yeah.
Yes.
And it was bloody awful. Anyway, of course, the last time I visited there was I decided to go on a nice sunny day with a friend.
Take a
And
stroll.
yeah, but I started to look around the grounds. Now it was an absolute mess. They hadn't touched the garden. They were focusing on the house. They'd not touched the garden. It was overgrown and it was quite a fair size and stuff. And I'm looking around and looking at shrubs and stuff, and I'm just curious. And I've come across this stone. And the only reason why I thought like it's an unusual one because it was smooth, like a stone you have at the seaside. It's been smoothed and shaped by the ocean. And I thought, oh, somebody's must have put it there at some stage. And it's not a normal one you dig out from from somewhere. It's looks smooth, like it's come from the ocean. And I lifted it out, and it was kind of a bit stuck in. And I lifted it out, but there was a sigil on the back of it. Now, I ended up going around that garden, and I found 9 of these, and they all had sigils on.
Oh,
There may have been more there, but I just piled them up in a little pyramid in the middle of the garden for the family to and say, look, get rid of these. Something had been
mhm.
going on at that farm. Do not know.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It was only about 3 or 4 weeks later I end up with a phone call that the whole place is burnt to the ground. There's nothing left. And they came home to find it like that with the police there and the firemen and all that sort of thing. And there was phone calls to the family. There was nobody in at the time, and they didn't. I know an investigation happened, but I don't know what the outcome was. To be honest, he was completely just burnt, charred wood, flattened to the ground. There was nothing left of that place. And I thought, so, do you know what? It had a bad imprint on that place, you know. But like I say, though, it kind of wrapped around me like a skin I couldn't shake off, and it was a bit disturbing that because I didn't have a protocol to deal with shaking that skin off.
There might not even be one. I can tell you, just to be transparent, I've had cases like where a murder had just taken place, and prior to the murder, they had a incredible amount of paranormal activity, shadow figures. The doors would lock themselves, but the handles would shake at night. Orbs, shadow figures, just all kinds of poltergeist or what they thought was poltergeist activity. And then a murder took place in the home. So I get there, they had just cut up the carpet the night before. And the family's like, look, originally they thought I was my dad. We needed to come pray for us. And they got old Nate dog, right? Nate's in there, and I'm thinking, oh, no way. Why is there a piece of carpet gone? But my point is, you would have thought that, like, after I did the investigation, I would have had an attachment from that event or something. But no, the feelings I get of attachment are what I encountered in my youth. It's almost worse. I guess that's my point. It's worse than some of these cases I've had where I felt nothing. I should have. But what comes to me in my darkest hour, and literally hiding under my desk, right? Sometimes where it's here, is that same feeling of just complete alienation from reality. It made me feel this small. And yeah, that's what I face. And I know exactly what you're talking about. And the sad thing about Hollywood and some of the movies that are being produced is sure they'll tell you what some of the phenomenon appears to be,
Yeah,
but they cannot properly quantify and communicate the utter loneliness and profound
no,
just it's sickening. And again, but it's designed to push you away.
yeah,
Don't come forward. You do not need to know this.
yeah,
And so you're right. In those cases, in those times, I'm like, you're exactly right. I don't want to know anything else.
no,
I'm going to go hide and watch football and eat chicken wings because
yeah. You are, yeah. Well, there is. I mean, people think that we're fearless, but no, we're not. We are challenging at times, but there is a point where you just don't cross the line because you don't. We don't know. We don't. We're not godly ourselves to know everything, you know. But you do hear of things which is not good, and you think to yourself, "Do I want to go across that?" Probably not, because I might not be around afterwards to be able to talk about the
right.
experience. So, what is the point? There's no point pushing yourself into dangerous situations. I'd rather
Mhm.
walk, sometimes run away. When I got thumped in the
You,
butt by poltergeist, I ran. It was just a
oh
natural
yeah.
instinct, you know, to do that. Yeah.
So to add to your point, so in this particular case study where the murder took place, uh, they had paranormal activity, but the 13-year-old daughter started to just distance herself from the family. And finally, what they realized was she had befriended a 15-year-old girl at school, and that 15-year-old had major, major issues. And so one night they're watching television and they look through the window and there's that 15-year-old girl staring at them, just watching them. So they call the cops. She's gone. But then about 2 months later, the daughter comes down the stairs on a school night, like she has to go to school the next morning, opens the front door, Steve. In comes the 15-year-old. You might want to edit this out, but in there, it's a female, but a male guttural voice is coming out of her. And my point is, after that took place, they wanted me to go and talk to the 15-year-old girl. And they're like, we've already talked to the lawyers and everything. And that was one of the moments where I was like, absolutely not.
Mm.
Absolutely not. Whatever that was,
Yeah.
whatever that is, it could have went after me.
Yeah.
But I get exactly what you're saying, and people need to understand this. A lot of people are going into places they shouldn't be going in, And it's just like that one experiencer I worked with the Incubus case, the right of provocation. Where did you get that from? Hollywood.
Yeah.
And not
Well,
realizing the
not good.
danger.
Yeah. I mean, have you ever come across the protective sigils, which are supposed to protect? I mean, I know they say they're supposed to do, but I don't know. I mean, have you ever come across protective sigils utilized with this sort of stuff, or is it
I
always
have.
the other?
Well, it would depend on the intention of the practitioner employing the sigils. I'll take it a step further, and this is some of the newest data coming out, which we'll talk about in depth perhaps later. But some of these sigils are gender specific.
Oh, are they? Right.
But that kind of goes through or down the rabbit hole of demons being gender specific or the species that actually has gender, which is fascinating to me. But unfortunately, a lot of this points back to what we consider to be the occult. And I was going to tell you this. I don't know if I've told you this before, but I've been working with a couple of researchers, one from Brazil and the other from Italy.
It's
And
interesting you say
the
Brazil. I'm on a call tonight to Brazil. Uh,
Yeah,
yeah, about this sort
well,
of stuff.
the it's probably the same people, but it's they're around the specific Brazilian I'm talking to, the man. He's around the same area of Virginia, Brazil, in 1996 crash. And like I did a show last night, and somebody asked me about, do you notice how ufology is trying to hijack the narrative? Here's a case point.
Hmm.
Here's a data set here where ufology is coming out and saying, okay, yeah, these are aliens, aliens, aliens. Well, the Brazilians, the locals there, know that there's a forest that these beings were first witnessed in, and a practitioner of the occult built an altar in that forest and was
Yes.
performing rituals.
I've heard very
And
similar things about this. Do you know a lot goes
yeah,
on in Brazil that we honestly it's shocking.
of course. But after the initial ritual, again, I know you hate the word portal, but it opens something up, right? And next thing you know, a multitude of archetypes, not just the alien,
Mm.
a multitude of them incarnate in that local environment. Ufology says, forget about the ritual aspect of it, forget about the altars. We're just going to focus on the UFO and the alien. And that's I can't help but think
No.
you didn't talk to the locals and they didn't tell you. They had to have,
Yeah.
but again, we have to push this in and not really articulate the scope of what's going on.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, so
I mean, it's like
great.
imprinted land. I mean, we've said this before about negative areas,
Yep.
you get positive, you get negative. The negative areas, though, usually we find that they usually, when you do statistics, they're higher in suicides,
Mhm.
higher in illnesses, higher in crime. Los Alamos Laboratories, interestingly enough, is in a very potent negative region where they do these experiments. And some I can't some of them are interesting, very interesting experiments which kind of cross that line a little bit.
Okay.
And even people at the laboratory have done themselves in. And
Really?
and more
Right.
than normal. And you think to yourself, what the hell's going on? But when we looked into it, Barry did a very good piece of research. It's
Mhm.
very interesting on surveys of places of weapons of mass destruction, chemical weapons, all things to do with war and death, and basically. But over 70 odd percent it was, I can't remember exact figures, but it was over 70% lay in these particular negative regions, those type of manufacturing government
Mhm.
establishments or military establishments. And some of them were actually even relocated to those areas. It's so strange. It's like when we
That's
talk about
huge.
Stonehenge and areas around that. Now we know, I've seen people years before it became fenced off and a public attraction which people pay for all over the world to come visit it now, when it was just stones in a field many years ago when I was there.
Mhm.
I've been there a few times. It was accessible and You see kids playing on the stone there, see them, oh, take a sit on the stone, let's take a photograph. Unknowingly, like they're sat on a sacrificial stone there, it's for letting, for letting. So, but what's right next door to it is a military training camp facility. Like you can drive through only certain times, otherwise a tank might drive over you, or you might get shot at by a helicopter. Um, and it's also a chemical facility, manufacturing place for war. And it's all right there, and it's been relocated there. You think, what is going on? So there's something about the land and about saturation of intent as well.
Mhm.
And I think we find that also in ancient times as well. So it's really interesting that it seems to be goes across the threshold into the geology, the environment, the mind, the geology,
Right.
and everything, and it becomes saturated up. And this is why you've got these sacrificial places in those areas. Somebody knew some time ago this is a great place to build it. And
Yes.
and now it's like we've got in modern times, oh, let's go and build it there because we're dealing with weapons of mass destruction or chemicals that could be used in war and stuff like that. I tell you what, let's go and build it there or relocate it there. There's got to be some reason for it. I don't know if
I
it
agree.
helps drive the success rate of them. I do not know. Or it's linked into the land of somehow that paying homage in a way. I really don't know. There's so much more to learn yet, but we just don't know it. But I noticed that
Mhm.
on a few things that you've talked about. You've touched on little areas. You touched on these areas where there's this positiveness, negativeness, and how it's utilized by establishments, the Collins elite, the invisible. What was it?
College,
The invisible
physical
college.
college.
It's like tap the source, and we can work out that tapping of the source now by looking at
Yep.
indicators, can't we? You
Yep.
know,
We're learning the mechanisms behind some of the mechanisms behind the phenomenon and trigger points. Again, in antiquity, the altars were positioned underneath or underneath the sky in a certain strategic area because it helped facilitate. Can't talk, guys. I'm tired. Facilitate the phenomenon. It's not enough
yeah,
if I sacrifice this animal over there. I have to do it here.
I know it's strange. And when it was done in overland and overseas and places like that in other
Yeah.
countries, and they utilize certain things, let's say the largest, obelisk or whatever, let's take it from Egypt, let's put it in London, let's take it from there, let's put it there, let's put it there, all over the world. Let's symbolize power to something. Now got its own following, its own cult, its own church. It's
Mhm.
got everything. You start getting into Scientology and other things like that. It's got everything, the makings of a belief system, which is outweighing the traditional belief systems. And that's where
Mhm.
it's
It's
going.
the replacement
So
archetype, the
that's
same incantations, just different incarnations.
there it is, buddy. I
All
will
right,
do.
brother.
All right.
Have a
Talk
good
to you
week,
soon,
buddy.
buddy. All right.
Later.
Bye for now, mate.